I mean, because doing this felt like I was running on finals week.
Well, you did start it 30 minutes before.
An hour. It was like an hour.
So, we started at 46 minutes late because you weren't done yet.
It's a lot of information. It is a lot of fucking work. I hate Google Sheets. Google Sheets should sponsor me.
Did you just say you hate them and they should sponsor you?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome back to the Kill Your Normie podcast, where we go deep on fandom culture and pop culture, because yes, it is that deep.
And you're drowning.
I'm Lindsey.
And I'm Ren, and I am tired.
You don't have a bit today?
No, my bit is that I just spent the past 3 hours making a color-coded spreadsheet of all the attractions in every single Disney park. That's my bit. That's my bit. Unironically.
So, as you may have guessed, this week we are going to be talking about Walt Disney World. Initially, this was going to be an episode about...
Walt Disney World is trash.
We were going to say Walt Disney World is the worst park, even though it's the one we go to most often.
Worst resort. Because there's multiple parks in the resort.
Yeah, but worst Disney, let's just say. But then the more research we went through... we realized that that's like
not bad.
Based off the argument we were trying to make, that was not true.
It was not that bad. Yeah. There's a lot of info.
There's a lot. When you're trying to compare every single Disney park on Earth, very difficult.
First of all, they just announced another one.
They
literally just announced another one.
Yeah, they did, and then they just broke ground on another land in Shanghai.
Might be Shanghai,
or Tokyo. It's a Spider-Man thing. But yeah, so everything's constantly moving and changing. It is impossible to keep up with the Walt Disney Company. Anyways, before we get into that, let's start off with headshots.
My headshot this week. Well, I have a headshot and I have a hyperfixation.
Okay, yes. So we're going to introduce another little, bit to the headshot segment. We're gonna also do hyperfixation, so if there's no news, we can also say this is a thing I've just been obsessed with this week. So in this case, you have a headshot and a hyperfixation.
So my headshot is that there was a new Genshin Impact update, and they brought back my boy and they put him on trial for murder. Great. So excellent, honestly. No notes. He deserves it. He's too pretty to be wrong, though. And then my hyperfixation this week is I finally bought this book that I've had my eye on for a year. And I was lucky it was still at Barnes & Noble. But it's called Fight Magic Items. And it is a history of JRPGs in the West, as in Japanese role-playing games, which is my bread and butter, my big special interest. So I've been, I'm only in the intro area, but it's been very, very interesting so far.
I only have headshots today, no hyperfixations, because I've kind of been jumping from thing to thing. But basically my two pieces of news are, one, another Sherlock Holmes adaptation. Another
you're telling me about this.
Charlotte Holmes, which is a YA book series that focuses on the descendants of John and Sherlock Holmes at a boarding school in Connecticut. Connecticut mentioned. Woo! And it's going to be turned into a movie. So the series is by Brittany Cavallaro. So she's a big YA author. So that's becoming a movie, which back when the books came out, that would have been a dream role for me. I think I'm a little old for it now.
A little bit.
Yeah, just a little. Just 10 years too late. All my dreams are happening 10 years too late. But so yeah, that's happening. And then my second headshot, because it's going to be Disney relevant. So Howard Ashman, who wrote the lyrics for Little Mermaid, part of Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, he
a lot of Renaissance films.
Disney Renaissance films, yeah. He just had his 75th birthday. He passed away from AIDS back in the 90s. And
I was wondering what he was doing.
He's dead, Ren. He's been dead. They at the 4,000th performance of Aladdin on Broadway, they did like a big Howard Ashman tribute. So it included like all the people like in current running Disney musicals, including the up and coming tour for Beauty and the Beast that's coming to the US this next year. So we got to see a little sneak peek of like those costumes, which was kind of cool. They brought out the actor and actress who play Belle and the Beast, so we got to get a look at the yellow dress and the look at his suit. He was in Prince form for this. He was not in Beast form for this.
Lame.
No, but like I'm cool with that. I want to like see that when it comes through. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah.
The Beauty and the Beast musical adaptation is also like one of the best musical adaptations.
I think it's one of the best ones. It's the first.
Yeah, it also adds there's a specific song on the extended edition, and this is the edition that me and my sister grew up with. They added this song edition called Human Again from the musical, and they animated a segment for it, and that's a
it
fixes
better
pacing.
Movie. It's a better movie.
Yeah, it fixes pacing, it adds background, it's...
What you watch on Disney Plus is not, in my opinion, the full film.
If you can ever track down a copy of that, like, special edition where you can watch it with the extended...
Like, if you get a Blu-ray, it's one of the options.
Yeah.
Like, I have so many Blu-ray copies of this movie.
Or just watch the sequence itself. Like, it's
so
Human Again
good.
Is very good, yeah.
Human Again is fantastic. So, like, definitely watch it. It definitely, like, paces the movie better.
Yeah.
It's one of the best parts of that show.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Beauty and the Beast performed live since 2014.
Yeah, we were like kids.
No, I was like, because we saw it once kind of like out of town. And then it came through, it was the same tour. It was like, it was like that really small kind of cheap networks tour they did. Which kind of had like almost like storybook opening sets. Like all the sets and everything were really tiny. And I saw that one again when it came through closer to us in 2014. I have a ticket still. I use it as like a bookmark. And so and then there hasn't been a tour. There hasn't been like a professional production going on, except in maybe regional theaters. And I'm so excited to see a brand new tour. This is going to be based off the UK and Australian one. Okay. So there's been a tour, just not in the US for a hot minute. So I'm very excited. And it's coming through next year. So I'm super psyched to see a new Beauty and the Beast. Let's get into it. So again, we were going to kind of turn this into like almost like Walt Disney World's the worst park. And then we realized that's not true. I think it's more we just go there the most.
So we pick up on
decline.
Decline, yeah.
And there's been some decline.
The good news about, I mean, there are a lot of good components to Walt Disney World. It's the biggest.
It's the biggest. And for a while there I was like, I think that might be its only
draw.
Its only feature is that it's big.
It's big and it's big. Like, when I say big, it is like, because especially when you look at it compared to like other parks. Especially like Disneyland, Tokyo Disneyland, which are the only two other Disney parks I've been to. Those are in the middle of cities. You can't expand out. Disney World itself in Florida is its own city.
Yeah.
You have 4 parks, 2 water parks, 2 miniature golf courses, 30 some odd resorts.
Yeah.
A whole downtown area. There's a lot going on there.
It's got its own public transport and a lot of it.
Yeah.
It runs really well. It's clean. It's easy to get around.
Walkable.
It's walkable.
We're privileged. So like we usually stay at like Beach Club, Boardwalk.
That's where we kind of like grew up staying.
Which are classy.
Those are some of the nicer resorts, I will say. We've been very lucky.
They have their own specific like little almost like a backyard area. Like people don't really like, it's not like a downtown Disney type area, but basically it connects these resorts to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. And it's the boardwalk. It's a boardwalk.
You can walk to Epcot. You could walk to Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'd just take the boat.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can take the boat, or you can take a bus, or you can take the Skyliner, I think is an option now too.
Which we haven't done.
Because I think it looks weird. But I
wouldn't mind doing it. It's just a long line.
I also just think it looks odd over Epcot.
Yeah.
It just ruins the skyline a bit.
Again, we've been there so many times. It's
that we can have these opinions.
We're privileged. We will admit that.
We admit that we are privileged. We may be going again.
Yeah.
Very soon. We're not sure yet. We haven't locked down today, but we might be going again. So, yeah, so basically, we're just going to kind of go through and compare and contrast, and we realized kind of the biggest hard line, I think, is definitely East versus West.
East versus West. We've been to Disneyland a couple times.
We've been
which
twice.
Is Disneyland as in Disneyland, California.
So, yeah, in 2011 and in 2019, we've gone to Disneyland Disneyland and California Adventure.
Yeah.
Basically, we have been there pre-Avengers Campus.
Yeah.
They were, like, just starting to build it, I think, in 2019, but, like, we went on Guardians there.
Yeah. And just for people who are out of the loop for Disney parks terminology, when we say Disney World, we mean Florida. When we say Disneyland, we usually mean California.
We're going to run into some problems because other parks in other countries are also called Disneylands.
But we'll usually call it, like, Disneyland and then location.
Yeah, we'll say, like, Disneyland, Shanghai,
Disneyland.
Or we refer to it by location.
Yes. Or just call it Euro Disney.
And we did a ton of research and everything. We will put all the sources we used in the show notes.
It's a lot of Wikipedia pages.
Specifically, I want to shout out parklore.com, who was one of the first people, like, we looked up when we were starting this episode, because they put together, and there's no author on this article, I don't know who made it, the Venn diagram of all the castle parks, so not including Epcot, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, just like Magic Kingdom in every park. They drew a Venn diagram for every single one, so we could see overlap for all the parks at once.
And when I was doing my own research, it is the castle parks that have the most overlap. It is always the castle parks that have the most overlap. Most Disney resorts around the world have 2 parks, with the exception of Hong Kong and Shanghai, which only have their Disneylands.
And we're not including Walt Disney World in this, which has 4.
Which has 4, yeah. But the other ones usually have 2, and it's usually basically, you can say basically they have, like, a castle park. They're, like, Disneylands with the, they're princess castles.
When you think of Disneyland, that's
the park you think of. And then their second park is usually, basically, it's usually based on Hollywood Studios, which is in Florida.
Yeah.
With the exception of Disney Sea. Disney Sea is its own monster.
Yeah, there's always, like, something that's themed otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, because, like, California Adventure is very much about California.
Yeah.
So there's, like, the things there are...
They have the Redwood Forest.
And then they also have, like, a Hollywood section.
Yeah.
Or, like, and then, like... The Pixar, like, Midway area is very much, like, Boardwalk, Santa Monica Pier kind of vibes. And then, like...
The Walt Disney Studios Park in Europe, that's also very Hollywood Studios.
There's a Walt Disney Studios Park in Europe?
Yeah, that's their second park.
That is what it's called.
That's what it's called. It's called Walt Disney Studios Park, and it is very Hollywood Studios. Because it's also based on this concept of movie making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and France, like... has a history with that as well.
France has a very big history with Disneyland.
Oh, no, not Disneyland. I mean, making movies. So it would work for France. And then it also lets them kind of put IP in there without it seeming too shoehorned.
Yeah.
But yeah, we said, like, kind of the biggest differences between East and West, and if you want to explain the differences between... Because you were explaining ownership to me earlier.
Oh, okay. So... the funny thing about the Disney parks is that half the parks are completely owned by Disney. The other half are either partially owned or completely owned by other companies, and they're basically just licensed out. So, Disney World, Florida, Disneyland, California, and Euro Disney, aka the Disneyland that's in France, are all owned and operated by Disney. Shanghai Disney is operated by Disney and one other company whose name I cannot remember. I think it's Shanghai Holdings. So it's owned by Walt Disney Company and the Shanghai Shendi Group. Apologize for that pronunciation. And then the Hong Kong Disneyland Park is owned by Disney and was also sponsored by the Hong Kong government. And then Tokyo Disneyland is completely owned by Oriental Trading Company.
Okay, so basically, not full Disney control.
It's Disney in name. It's Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea are Disney in name only, basically.
Oh, okay.
It's completely licensed out. The Oriental Trading Company operates everything, and they're considered in the theme park space in general to be like one of the best theme parks in the world. Especially Tokyo Disney Sea.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was that one that I was like, is that the one with the newest Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yes.
That one looks incredible.
Yeah.
Like, that's the you go underwater thing.
Yeah, no, wait, that's Shanghai.
Oh, that's Shanghai.
That is Shanghai.
Okay.
That is Pirates of the Caribbean Battle for the Sunken Treasure. I know, because it's on my spreadsheet.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about, like, originally the argument was I thought that other parks got better rides and tech, which I think to some point, yes, they do.
Yeah.
Only because they're not under Disney's control.
Yeah. They're still operated by Disney. Like, Disney Imagineers still work on these parks.
But I think they're given a bit more freedom.
Yeah, and they're having more money coming in, because it's not completely... Like, if Disney makes a mistake with the Florida parks, it's all on them. If Oriental Trading Company makes a mistake with Tokyo Disneyland, Disney can just, wipe their hands clean of it.
Yeah.
So they have to be a little more careful when it comes to the parks that they own, which means that a lot of the more experimental technology, they can afford to throw money at the parks that they don't completely own, because there's someone else who's also going to foot the bill.
Which is frustrating, because I think the thing I get frustrated with most about Walt Disney World, which I consider to be, like, it's the East Coast park, so it's our park.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest one, but I do feel like we are not taking as many risks.
Mm-hmm.
And I find I only end up in a place of, like, holy shit. Like, whenever they do take a leap.
Yeah.
Like, and I think my last time I felt that was, like, last year in October, when I finally got to go see Guardians.
Guardians was
for the first time. Phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Not like anything else I was seeing in the park at the time.
Not like anything else in the...
Well-themed.
In the world, in the Disney parks at all.
Yeah, and it was, again, it's one of the first Marvel things we've received on the East Coast, because if you don't know, Marvel has a very strange copyright agreement where we can't get Avengers stuff this side of the Mississippi.
Because they're partially owned by Universal.
Because of Universal Park.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So we are allowed Guardians because they are not considered Avengers. I think that's where we run into the problem. Which makes me wonder if, like, Fantastic Four would be allowed. Because Fantastic Four is not considered part of the Avengers team. They're their own
X-Men's
team.
Also, like, in a weird spot, too.
X-Men is in a weird spot, too, also because that's owned by Fox, but Disney does own Fox.
Yeah.
It's very weird. I think we run into bigger problems with, like, Sony and Spider-Man, but
yeah.
Regardless, that was kind of, like, one of the first things we got over here. I do think it's in a weird spot, which we could probably get into now, is when Disney does do new stuff nowadays, I'm talking, like, within the last few years or so, they are being put in, like, really thoughtless places.
Really random spots. And probably, I think, the biggest exemplification of this...
The biggest offender is...
Tron.
To you, Tron is the biggest one? To me, it's Moana.
I hate Tron. I hate Tron.
I think you just hate Tron.
Okay, let me gun Tron. Let me permission to approach the bitch.
Oh my god.
But
alright, what's your issue with Tron? Because I've got very clear problems with where they put Moana.
The issue I have with Tron is, first of all, I just have issues with Tron as a coaster in general. It's too short for, like, a 10-minute pre-show.
Also, it took forever to build.
It took forever to build. It is basically a minute and a half long, and it is a 10-minute pre-show. And while it was cool when it was announced, because it was in Shanghai at the time, I believe, nowadays it's just, like, it's not... Again, it's novel to people, but to me, it's just, like, now it's just, like, it's kind of run its course. Tron's not really a big IP.
They're making another movie.
They are making another movie, but I think it's because they're trying to push that. But it's also... The way that Disney World's Tomorrowland is themed is very retro-futuristic, especially when it comes to, like, a 90s version of retro-futurism. It's
I wouldn't even say 90s. I'd say, like, the 1950s Jetsons.
Yeah, it's like, it's very blocky and big shapes and rounded and all this... It's chunky.
But there's also, like, a bit of, like, Art Deco to it, too.
Yeah. It's very chunky. And the way that they did Tron is that they made it very... The pavilion going up, they have a bunch of overhangs and canopies and stuff like that, but it's very flowy and, like, artistic and, like, just not... It doesn't suit the area. It looks weird in the area.
See, but I think Tron at least makes the most sense theming-wise.
I also think it's weird because they literally put a roller coaster behind another roller coaster.
Yeah, that's weird. It's next door to Space Mountain.
They're literally, it's like a... I think you can step right next door. You can hit Tron.
Well, because when they were building it, when you would get off Space Mountain, they would reroute you now.
Yeah.
Because of the construction. I think there's buildings that attach to it.
Yeah. That is so bizarre to me. It felt like they were trying to replace Space Mountain without trying to replace it.
See, for me at least, Tron feels like it's placed in the correct park.
Things I would have rather they placed it in Epcot. Because Tron at least has something to do with technology. It has to do with programming.
Okay, I'd agree with that.
So when you get into, like, Epcot is basically their tech park.
That's
or
true.
Supposed to be their
that
tech
makes
park,
more
at least.
sense,
It is
yeah.
not their tech park now, with the exception of Guardians. But it is in this weird spot.
Well, if we want to talk about Epcot,
You were talking about Moana.
So they've got Moana The Way of Water, which is a walkthrough.
Which we have not done.
We've still not done. I don't think we could find it, frankly.
Yeah.
Because now that they've taken the fountains out of the middle of the Future World part of Epcot, I get lost.
Yeah.
I get lost now. But anyways, it's basically Moana, you know, like if you've seen the movie, you know, she's got a connection to the ocean and a connection to water. And so it's a little walkthrough, and you can use like sensors and control little fountains and things. It's like very fun for kids. It's beautiful to look at, apparently.
Yeah.
We should really go look at it if we ever go back.
Yeah.
But it's got a conservation slant to it, which kind of makes sense in terms of Epcot, because Epcot does have some environmental things, because Epcot's definitely the edutainment park.
Yeah.
Because we've got there's a ride called Living with the Land, which talks about kind of like where your food sources come from, things like
Specifically
that.
Disney's food sources.
Specifically,
it's their greenhouse.
It's their greenhouse where they grow their food. But like, so like in terms of theming, it makes sense, or like themes, meaning themes of the ride itself. In terms of like IP and where it belongs, it's very weird.
It is in a weird spot. I'd say IP
like it belongs in Animal Kingdom,
and yeah,
just because of the environmentalist slant and the there's animals in Moana. It just feels better, and I felt like it could feel better. The second thing was Guardians being in Epcot felt a little odd to me, because to me Guardians isn't like future. It's just something that runs tandem to real life. The only reason why they put it in Epcot was because they were like, Peter Quill went to Epcot once, and I was like, when once was that mentioned in the canon?
Yeah.
At least in the movie canon, because it's not like everyone's reading the comics.
Yeah.
So I was like, look, I love the ride. I just think it's in a weird spot.
Let's take a step back for a moment, because I don't think everyone here knows kind of like the lore of the Disney World parks specifically. So there's 4 parks. You have Magic Kingdom, which is we went over that. That's your castle park.
What do you think, Disney World? That's what you think.
Yeah. Epcot is basically, it was designed as like an edutainment park.
Well, initially, Epcot stands for, and this always bugs me when people say Epcot Center.
Yeah.
Because Epcot stands for...
It's an acronym.
Epcot stands for Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow.
And it was supposed to be a city.
It was supposed to be a real working city. That obviously didn't happen. But it does
Funkland has a whole video on it.
It bothers me when they say Epcot Center, because I'm like, you're saying Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow Center.
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense. Anyways, also I've heard people refer to this in pop culture as separate to Disney World. It is not.
It is not separate to Disney World, no.
Animal Kingdom, like all the parks are Disney World.
Yeah.
That is part of it.
Yeah. I think it's because like you have Disneyland and then Magic Kingdom, which is the odd one out.
It's just strange. But anyways, keep going. The third park.
Just to go back on what Epcot's slant is, they were the edutainment. So basically, once it was redesigned to a park instead of a city, it's the edutainment park. They have 2 sections of it. It was basically designed to be an everlasting World's Fair. So you have one section that was going to be focused on tech and improvements in tech. The other section was going to be basically country exhibits, like a World's Fair. So you have basically Future World and World Showcase. That's how I know it. I know all the lands have changed except for World Showcase now. It is now like World Discovery, and I'm not quite sure.
Oh, is that what it's called? It's not called Future World anymore?
There's basically 3 different worlds in where Future World was, basically. So it's like World Celebration, World Discovery, and one other world, which I don't remember off the top of my head. But basically there was this place called Innoventions, which was a place where they were supposed to have a whole bunch of sponsors who would come in and like demonstrate like new products they had, new technologies they were researching.
Like General Electric, I think.
General Electric was part of it. There was a couple of car companies,
Siemens,
I think, too. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of companies.
But a lot of companies basically just stopped updating their areas or pulled out, and so it was left with a lot of really outdated technology. That eventually got knocked down. There was places like there was the Pavilion of Life, which had Body Wars, which is supposed to tell you about like how the human body works. It was very much like living science museum, like children's science museum. There's The Imagination Pavilion, which is my favorite pavilion
We
for
love-
nostalgia.
That thing is so trapped in the 90s.
It is trapped in the 90s. It was basically supposed to show you, basically, like, you can use your imagination and, like, make things happen, and
by the way, the Imagination Pavilion is technically the second version of it.
Yeah.
Because A Journey into Imagination with Figment, which is the current ride that's there right now. Figment used to be, like, a minor character in a previous ride, also called Journey into Imagination. And now Figment is the main character of the ride. And we love Figment. I think a certain age group of Disney adults love Figment, which is why I think they haven't changed it at this point. I do think it could use a little upgrade.
A little sprucing up.
It would need to be done in the right way, and you can't do away with Figment.
You can't do away with Figment.
People would riot.
That the ending area, though, in specific, is usually what people have qualms with, because when it came out, it was supposed to be very, very fun for kids. It was a lot of new technology, and, like, look at what you can do with your imagination, with motion sensors, with lights and stuff like that. But it is very stuck in the early 2000s and 90s, and a lot of the technology just breaks. And it's not interesting anymore.
It's not interesting or impressive anymore.
Yeah, it's especially considering a lot of kids now have, like, smartphones.
Yeah, it's not interesting.
So a lot of people just walk right through that area. Though there are some cute things you can play with in there. It's just, it's very old.
Yeah.
And then the other side of there is World Showcase.
Yeah.
With a whole bunch of different countries. Originally, it was supposed to be the country themselves would sponsor their pavilions. We were supposed to have, like, 10 more countries, and we never got them.
Yeah, that they have not added a new country
since Morocco.
Since Morocco. What year was that?
Like, a couple years after they opened.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
so
like,
it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Then after Epcot, we mentioned this briefly about Hollywood Studios, which was supposed to be their "this is how movies are made" park.
Yeah, and it actually used to be a working studio.
It did. They tried to, at least.
They tried to, at least, except they made, like, a backlot tour that was, like, next to it, where they would demonstrate, like, a flood effect. So every 5 minutes, like, just hundreds of gallons of water would go, and then people making movies and things just couldn't make stuff because there would just be the sound of rushing water every 5 minutes. Like, actual Disney shows used to film there. So I think Mickey Mouse Club used to film there.
There was a couple, like, Disney Channel
there was also something called, like, Alice Adventures that filmed there. Yeah. So there was a lot that it used to be like, let's step inside the movies. It was a good kind of, like, demonstration of, like, what Disney Studios did. And now it is turned definitely into the IP park and the immersion park.
Yeah. Like, think about, they just opened Epic Universe in Universal, where they're trying to do all these immersive worlds. Disney's basically trying to turn Hollywood Studios into the same thing.
It is a similar thing. So that's where, like, your Star Wars land would be. They're going to add, like, a Monsters, Inc. area.
They have a Toy Story land.
There's a Toy Story land that also feels like you've been sort of, like, shrunk down to, like, toy size. And yeah, like, and then there used to be more things that felt like a set, like a movie set.
Yes.
I like, there used to be a place called Avenues of America, which looked like fake streets in famous cities. And if you took pictures, it would kind of look like you were, like, on the streets of San Francisco, or
and they were all facades. They were all facades.
Yeah, it was like it looked like very, like, 1950s Hollywood. I really liked the Main Street area of Hollywood Studios, just, like, because even now they still kind of have preserved that old 1950s golden age Sunset Boulevard vibe. Like, everything looks, you know, like, true, like when you picture, like, old-fashioned Hollywood, like, that's there, and old cars, and the little trolley, like, stop and go thing you hear off, and then, like, all the music they play is from the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
So I do like that section. That feels like it's still very much preserved. But yeah, the rest of it is a very confused park. I have a lot of qualms with Hollywood Studios because it used to be a favorite, and now it just seems very confused.
We'll get into it more in a little bit. But the last park is one of my personal favorites. No one cares about this park like I care about this park. Animal Kingdom, which was kind of basically meant, well, originally it wasn't advertised. They're like, it's not a zoo, it's a zoo.
It's a zoo, let's be honest.
It's a zoo. It's a Disney zoo.
It's a zoo with some rides.
It's a Disney zoo. It is a very fun zoo. They've got some interesting animals. They've got one of my favorite rides in the park, which is Expedition Everest. And it's just, I just love walking around it. It is very hot. It is a very hot park. There's not a lot of indoor areas because, again, you're supposed to be looking at all the animals and stuff. There's a very big conservation bent towards it. They do let you donate towards their conservation fund when you buy stuff in the park. I think that out of all the parks, I think that is the one that is stuck most closely to its theming.
Most close, yeah.
Yeah.
I do think what's coming into it
Gets messy.
getting messy, because there are some things set to be added that feel off.
Yes.
And maybe are just there out of convenience. But we'll get into everything in just a second. So yeah, those are our 4 main parks. We're not going to talk about water parks or anything like that. That's just like...
I've only been to one of them, and my mom broke her foot there, so...
yeah. So we're gonna like kind of not talk about that. We're also gonna try and like not mention like stage shows or anything like that, because we're really looking at like...
We're looking at rides. If you sit in a line and you have to put a seatbelt, if you have to put a seatbelt or a bar over your lap, then that's what we're talking about.
Or you're riding on some vehicle.
Yeah.
Driven by somebody else. That's a ride. That's kind of our criteria.
For me, it's basically if you have to wait in a line and you're going on something moving.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically we're just gonna go park... Now that we've laid out like what each park is, we're gonna go park by park and kind of talk about what we currently like, what we don't like. We'll probably talk about some future projects that have been set to be happening there, because some changes are coming to multiple parks. And then, did you say we were going to compare and contrast?
Yeah, we'll compare and contrast
to other parks.
Yeah,
and
the ones we've been to at least.
The ones we've been to, but you have got a little bit of knowledge on some of the... Because you at least have been to Tokyo.
Yes.
So.
We've both been to California Disneyland twice. And then I've been to Tokyo Disneyland once, and I'm going to Disney Sea this year, which is very exciting.
Not me.
Not you.
Not me, but yeah.
No, not you, Lindsay.
Yeah. So, let's jump into Magic Kingdom. So we'll go back and forth and say what we like first of all.
So Magic Kingdom used to be my favorite park, like my absolute favorite park. And it has mainly to do with the fact that, like, out of all the parks, Magic Kingdom has, like, it feels like you're stepping into like a storybook, and you have these very definitive lands. Like if you went to a library, you could pull out a sci-fi book, you could pull out an adventure book, you could pull out a Western novel, you could pull out a fairy tale. Like that's what it feels like. And again, that's really exemplified by the whole like you leave the world of today and enter the world of tomorrow,
yesterday, in fantasy.
Yeah. Main Street was like my favorite area of the park, and that's basically it's all themed after like turn of the century, like Americana, all that. There's a lot of anticipation in Main Street.
There's something very charming about it.
They used to have a lot of street performers.
I think
like they have the Dapper Dans and stuff. The Dapper Dans don't show up that much anymore.
They're pretty scheduled. I think that one's a bit more regimented than like other places.
I also really like there's a particular area of Fantasyland that I like, and it was the Fantasyland expansion that happened in like the mid 2010s.
Yeah, like 2013.
They expanded past Fantasyland. They added Mine Train. They added the Beauty and the Beast area. But my favorite area, and this might be like a hot take, but it's the Storybook Circus area.
You like Storybook Circus?
I like Storybook Circus, and it's specifically because it's quiet.
Oh, you like Storybook Circus because no one else does.
Yes. But I also love it. I love a circus theming. I love a circus theming.
They have a good gift shop too.
They have a very good gift shop with some really good snacks.
That is also where they keep the Dumbo ride now.
And they also have one of my favorite snacks in the Disney park, which is the creme brulee croissant in Gaston's Tavern, which is by the Bell Ride, and it was very good. It was the size of my head. I could not finish it.
It was good. There's also like a really good Gaston. It was like an frozen apple something.
Yes, it was the beer.
That was good.
Yeah,
I liked that.
It wasn't alcoholic. It was like a frozen apple cider.
It's so good.
It was very
Which
good.
feels like it should be Snow White, right? Because it's
with
apple.
Yeah, but I think they were trying to do like a beer type thing.
Yeah, so.
But it's very good. Gaston's Tavern's very good for snacks.
Give her snacks. Also, I love hanging out just at the Gaston fountain.
Yes.
Mostly because if Gaston comes out, you get to see him, but you don't have to, like,
he's so camp.
He's so camp. But also it makes me feel like Belle in Beauty and the Beast.
Also, if you look at it at the right angle, it looks like he's pissing himself. So, but yeah, no, it's a very nice little section of the park. Those are probably my 2 favorite sections of the park. Then.
Yeah, I love the Main Street area as well. Like I do love that like old turn of the century like feel to it. I love the castle. I do think like Cinderella's castle is probably the most impressive one.
Yes, it's the most stereotypically fairy tale. To me.
I also love the expansion for Fantasyland, also because I'm just a big Beauty and the Beast fan.
Yes.
So I just love that there's a whole section that feels like that. I'll go on the Belle ride from time to time. It's not
Belle's show.
Belle's show. It's more of a show, but it like runs pretty regularly. Like a ride, there aren't like show times. Although Mom and I, when we went on it in October, we got stuck.
Yeah, it broke down.
It broke down because there's a pre-show element that does require some technology that got messed up, and I watched the employee just riff for what felt like
it was like 20 minutes.
It felt like a long time.
Yeah.
I felt really bad. And I was like, do we leave? Do we not leave? And there's like little kids who like will not wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a cute little thing. You get to sit in the library and Belle tells a little story and all the kids help out and play. And yeah, it's cute. And then I get a bookmark at the end, which is really why I go. And actually, I didn't get one. They only started giving it to the kids who are in the show.
Oh.
I'm sure if I asked a cast member, she would have given me one.
Yeah.
I just needed a new one because I've lost a few. But if we do go to Magic Kingdom again this year, I'm getting a Belle bookmark.
Yeah.
So like I love that area. I've come to appreciate Tomorrowland a bit more.
Yes. Tomorrowland's great at night.
I also Tomorrowland's great at night, and I also love Space Mountain as a ride. Like that's like
Space
one of my favorites.
Fantastic, yes.
And I also like again appreciate like the theming of Adventureland a lot.
Adventureland as well, yeah.
I feel like Adventureland's almost like underrated. I feel like we could do some more with that. And I love pirates. I love Pirates of the Caribbean. Love a pirate. And then Frontierland. I like also all the roller coasters. I like all the roller coasters in that park. So it's just there's something so classic about it.
Yes.
And it's definitely got Walt Disney's like stamp on it. It
was the last park he worked on before he died.
It's like all of his interests.
Yes.
It's all the things he loves. So I think that there is something very like cool about that, and also now we've learned to love Splash Mountain because they rethemed it to Tiana, and we used to not really go on it very often until that retheme.
Yeah, because Song of the South's not really. It was just strange it had stuck around so long.
Like people weren't going on Splash Mountain because of their attachment to that IP.
Yeah,
they were going on because they just liked to get wet.
Yeah, and now it's more popular, and actually it's very cute now.
It's very cute now. Yeah, and I mean, again, I was never a big fan of water rides, but like with this heat in Florida, sometimes it's
horrible. Yeah,
you just need it. So I guess we can go into like what we don't like.
It is the most crowded park, and there's not really anything they can do about that.
It's like the one that people go to if they go anywhere.
I mean, yeah, because it's the park. It is the park.
It's the one you think of when you think of Disney World. That's what you picture.
Another thing is that like, I feel like some of the maintenance has gone down, especially Main Street. Yeah, because they started doing a Main Street remodel of like the stores. They started making it a lot colder.
Yeah,
in the stores.
So Main Street is pretty much all gift shops, and they're all sort of connected. There's different things, but like there's like a bakery attached in one, and then there's a candy store. There's a candy store, but there's also like the crystal shop and like all these different. When I say crystal shop, I don't mean like woo woo. I mean like Swarovski crystals. But like,
if I had money, they have a castle that's covered in Swarovski crystals. It is so tacky, and I want it so badly.
But it's like all gift shops, and it used to be sort of designed a bit more like turn of the century or Victorian Edwardian department stores, and that's kind of what it was built after. And now they have sort of, the word I'm thinking of is gentrified the hell out of it. Like they made it very cold, and I know they're trying to make it more open or something because it is like when it's crowded, it's hard. It's hard to navigate. But it doesn't fit the vibe.
They had a lot of like really warm wood and
columns and
things had faded over the years, and that made it also feel very warm. And now with all the brand new stuff, it's a lot of white. It's a lot of like
white and gray,
really stark grays and some like bluish grays. But I'm just not a fan of gray.
Yeah, there's also like weird little theming things that have gone away. So like, there's that restaurant in Tomorrowland where it's supposed to be like almost like a piano bar.
Yeah.
And the guy isn't there anymore.
He hasn't been there since we were kids.
Called? It's called something.
It's I know which one you're talking like it's Sunny. Sunny's the guy.
Sunny Eclipse.
Sunny Eclipse is the guy, but I don't remember. It's Starlight Cafe.
It's Starlight Cafe, but we didn't eat there much.
It's quick service.
I know it's quick service.
Yeah.
We didn't eat there much but there used to be a guy there, like, who looked like a little fuzzy alien, and he would
Like an
play
elf.
songs.
Yeah.
And he would play songs, and that was part of the charm and the theming of the area.
And now it's just...
a quick service
It's just a quick service place.
It's just another generic quick service place.
By the way, little tip from me specifically. If you want a good quick service place, just go to Columbia Harbor House. Like, it's probably the best quick service place in the park.
I love Columbia Harbor House.
Yeah.
I love the time that last time we went to Pinocchio's, which is another quick service restaurant. By the way, they all serve the same thing. It doesn't really matter where you go. And we had done an online order, and we'd sent it to Columbia Harbor House instead, even though we were eating at Pinocchio's. So Ren and I had to basically get a tray full of food and then navigate
Fantasyland.
Fantasyland with a huge tray of food.
Yeah.
And then climb under.
Oh, I felt so bad. Yeah. I put the order in, so I felt so bad.
You were so stressed.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. But yeah, I do like that is one of the things, like, I just feel like some theming things have gone away. Oh, another thing I don't like is I don't like the car racing ride in Tomorrowland.
No one likes that ride.
It's gasoline smell the attraction.
Yeah.
I just don't like it. I think
we could get something electric in there.
We could have done away with that. Also, if it's Tomorrowland, they should be electric cars.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you would need it sponsored by probably Tesla, which would...
We're not going to get into that.
We're not getting into that. So those are kind of the things I don't like. There's also some future stuff that's coming in that I'm not... So, okay, there's one good thing that's coming in. They're talking about doing a villain expansion to Fantasyland, which I think is great. People have been asking for that.
That is long overdue.
Long overdue. People have been asking for that. There's going to be a villain show as well.
Yeah. That's something that's also not available in any other parks.
Yeah, so, like, that'll be something that is unique to us, which I think will be very cool. I'm sure they'll copy-paste it to Disneyland at some point. But that's something I'm interested in. The one thing I'm not crazy about is they are going to put a Cars Land towards the back of Frontierland, and I think it's weird.
Not necessarily towards the back, even. It's literally...
Well, it's going to go behind Big Thunder. That's where it's going to go.
Really?
Yeah.
Because from what I was hearing, because there's a river that goes around Frontierland, and they're filling in that river.
Are you sure for sure that they're filling it in?
As far as I know, yes.
That's another thing I hate. Stop getting rid of water features.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. It is so hot in that park.
Yeah.
Like, anything you can do to pull heat away, please do it.
Yeah, the river is meant to, like, divide Frontierland from Tom Sawyer's Island, which is a basically kind of like a walkthrough attraction that...
I haven't been on
it's
years.
very... Yeah, it's very... It's a walkthrough. It's a walkthrough, and it closes at dusk, so that's not even something that's open all the time. But to get there, you have to go on these little rafts that go back and forth, and there's only one raft, and it's just very difficult to get in and out of. Yeah, it's not very popular. So I understand them taking away Tom Sawyer's Island because it was never very popular. But as far as I know, that's where Cars Land's going to be, and they're filling in the river to make room for it.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that
There
either.
has to be water. I'm sorry. There just needs to be for it to feel like a real land.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just there needs to be...
Frontierland is also, like, it's Old West.
It's Old West, which is why, like, Cars Land feels out of place to me.
Because that's not...
I can't even call it future. It's just a different universe altogether.
That's just modern.
That's just modern.
Yeah.
So it's... And the thing is, Cars Land isn't going to be unique to Walt Disney World because California Adventure has it. In California Adventure, it makes sense.
I think Disneyland has it as well. Like Disneyland Euro.
Yeah, they probably do. But that makes... At least the California Adventure one makes sense because...
It's in the California end.
It takes place in California.
Or, like, on the way to California.
Or at least on the way,
takes, like,
to...
in place in Utah, I think. Utah?
It's on Route 66.
Yeah.
So but Route 66 also gets, like, a California connotation as well. But, yeah, it just, that fit better than I think it does here. Where, again, I get that the Frontier was also California, Gold Rush, all that, Land of Opportunity. But it feels odd, especially when you're trying to evoke such an old school feel. And it just doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't vibe for me.
My theory, which is pretty out there, is I'm wondering if they're trying to shift it away from Old West because they don't think it's politically correct enough. Because the whole Cowboys and Indians trope. And I was talking to my dad about this yesterday, actually. And when he was growing up, the Cowboys and Indians thing, that was a huge...
Oh, yeah, Lone Ranger.
That, yeah.
Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah. Whoever the guy with the raccoon hat was.
Davy Crockett.
Davy Crockett, yes. Dad loved Davy Crockett. But, so, like, that was a big thing back then. But nowadays, it's the kids are modern. The kids are modern.
Again, I still see, like, cowboy motif pop up, but it's more in style than in practice.
It's very urban cowboy. It's not, like,
Yeah.
old Western cowboy.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if they think that because that's not... The necessity of the Old West isn't as popular with the modern populace nowadays, that they're maybe trying to move away from it.
Which worries me a little.
Yeah.
Just because, again, it was his vision.
Yeah.
It's meant to evoke some form of old school nostalgia. I think there's other ways you could do it without it being a problem. But we are 44 minutes in, so we should get into Epcot.
Yes.
What do we like?
I love World Showcase. Most of World Showcase. I've always been, like, a big international cultures person, learning about geography, international cultures, international languages, all that kind of stuff. Always been since I was a kid. And so just walking through all the different countries, like in the gift shops, like just seeing all the people, because they usually get people from those countries to man basically all the stations there. And so it's when we were kids, we used to do, like, Kid Cot Fun Stop, where basically they would have someone from the country basically doing arts and crafts with you at each station. It was always last. Love World Showcase. I would just love for them to put some more countries in there, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
Nobody likes us right now. Because you have to do it with the U.S. You have to do it with the government or the tourism board of
the country.
Yeah. And nobody likes us right now.
No one likes us right now.
Which, like, fair enough. Okay, we won't ask. Yeah, like, that's kind of, like, what I think I always liked about Epcot, too, was the international travel bit of it.
So we got Canada, United Kingdom, France, Morocco, Japan,
Mexico, China,
Norway.
We'll
get into Norway in a bit. Germany, Italy, and America.
Yeah.
And I said Morocco. And we also have the Outpost, which is Pan-African. It's basically just a snack bar.
It's basically also just, like, an empty lot where they would have put another country. There's space for other countries, we just haven't done it.
There's space for twice as many countries as we have.
Yeah. So they just haven't done it. The plan was to expand it, and it never happened. I mean, like, growing up, like, the countries I liked going to were the UK and France. Just because...
France is nearly a perfect pavilion.
Yeah, it is.
It has 2 movies. It has a ride. It has several restaurants, including a very good creperie.
Oh, really good. Even the quick service stuff was fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
And they have several gift shops.
Like, beautiful.
They have a perfumery
where you can get, like, personalized perfume.
Yeah.
I don't know if the formula itself is personalized, but the bottle is.
Yeah. Also, the food there is just all of it's excellent. I mean, French cooking,
of course. I always loved the UK pavilion because of the pop culture aspect. Because I was, like, big Doctor Who kid, big Sherlock kid, and they would always have, like, pop culture stuff in the gift shop. And there used to be, and there isn't anymore, like, street performers, like, that would do, like, old school.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it Shakespearean, but it's, like, it was very, like, Monty Python-esque even, like.
So they still have one performance thing in there, and that is their they have their rock band, the British rock band,
the Beatles cover band.
They're called the British Revolution.
That's cute.
I also like with Epcot, I love the festivals. Epcot has a themed festival 3 times a year.
3 times a year?
Because I'm not sure what their summer festival is.
I don't think they have one.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. So usually it's arts festival is in the wintertime. The Flower and Garden Festival is in the spring, and then the best one, Food and Wine, is in the fall, where they open basically booths for other countries and then show you this country's cuisine. And it is delicious, and you have to go in with a plan.
You have to go in with a plan. You probably ate the most out of all of us.
Because I went in with a plan.
You went in with a plan, and I was just so stressed. And
yeah.
Okay, and so let's go into the downside. It gets doubly crowded.
Yes.
If you go on a weekend, everybody is drunk.
Everybody. Okay, there's a trend called drinking around the world. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't be stupid.
You look annoying.
Yeah, don't do it.
You look so annoying. But yeah, big groups of adults and kids sometimes will all wear matching t-shirts that'll say something like drinking gin and juice. Like 5-year-olds.
Yeah, don't like
And
that.
the parents are drinking around the world. In sweltering heat, by the way, even though it's fall, it is hot there.
I got elbowed out of the way by a drunk woman when I was trying to make an order for a little zebra cake. And yeah, I was not happy about that.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing where I got so overwhelmed. I was like, I hate this.
Yeah.
This is not fun.
Yeah, that's the only downside of Food and
That
Wine.
is the
if
downside.
you go during the week, it's usually better. We were there during the week though, and it was still pretty.
Yeah. The big thing I'd say I dislike about Epcot, especially in most recent years, is we've had a lot of false promises with Epcot.
They had this huge plan for Epcot to revitalize Epcot. It was like new attractions, new pavilions, new, all this stuff, and then COVID hit, and they canceled, I'd say 90% of it.
Yeah, because when we went there, even in 2021, they had that big scale model that you could go look at.
That had all the new stuff in it.
And they were like, this is coming. And it was going to be Moana. Moana was one of the things that survived.
That was the only thing that survived, basically.
I think it might... no, that...
Other than, like, the retheming.
That, and, like, basically everything they did to that main part of Future World stayed. Because, you know, there's a new Walt Disney statue. There's, like, all these things. They took the freaking fountains out. Please put fountains back. It is so
Though they did add a lot of green. They
added more greenery. So that's something. It's nice at night, I will say.
It also has, I think Epcot has some of the best ambient music in the park.
Yeah, it's got great ambient music. But I do say, like, we were supposed to get, like, a Mary Poppins ride. Again, I don't know where they would have put that in the UK, but I was down. But yeah, Epcot, I feel like there's been a lot of false promises. I think the biggest thing they got was that giant Starbucks that they opened.
Yeah, which was bizarre.
I think that's where Interventions used to be.
It is where Interventions used to be.
I mean, it was definitely a nicer building to look at, and it was nice to know it just wasn't empty.
You could get water.
We were able to get water there. They made the gift shops a bit bigger and airier, which is like the one place I would be like, yeah, that's fine, make things look nicer and cleaner.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I think we just got a lot of false promises with them.
Yeah. The other thing is that the thing that did worry about me about the big whole Epcot plan was the fact that they were planning to add a lot more IP to the countries specifically. And I understand Disney needs to have, like, their IP in places, but the thing that I worry about with the countries is IP taking over the country itself. And we have seen it happen. It happened with Norway. Norway was one of my favorite pavilions when I was growing up because it had this ride called Maelstrom, which was all about, like, Norwegian trolls and stuff like that, and they had a little Norway video at the end. It is now Frozen Ever After and has a 3-hour line constantly.
It's been a decade. It's been almost a decade since that ride opened.
And I'm still bitter.
And I still haven't been on it because the ride's too long. The line is too long.
I've only been on it once, and we got a fast pass, a lucky fast pass.
The line is too long.
Yeah, and then so basically everything's frozen. Their one, like, food option is a princess meet and greet food option. That's Oscar House. Their gift shop is okay, but half of it is taken up by Frozen merch. They had an exhibit that was for, like, just, you know, to show off Norwegian culture. It has now been taken over by Marvel.
I don't know if that's current anymore.
It is current. That was what it was. It was what was there when we were last there.
Oh, okay. I didn't go in.
Yeah.
So.
It was taken over by Thor, and I don't mind Thor. My issue with Thor and being associated with Norse mythology is that it's wrong. It's just blatantly wrong. And so the fact that, like, you go into them and it's basically just showing off the costumes, but it doesn't even do anything to correct the misconceptions that they kind of perpetuated with the Thor franchise pissed me off a little bit. There's basically nothing distinctly Norwegian about the pavilion anymore other than the architecture and some of the gift shop. And that pisses me off to no end. And I don't want that to happen to the other countries, but if we're not putting in new countries, they need to figure out other alternative terms of revenue. So bringing more IP in there, probably.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the Mexico Pavilion brought in a bit more Coco stuff.
They do have a Coco exhibit in the beginning.
Which, like, in Coco, I think is pretty fairly accurate to what it was trying to depict. There is a boat ride inside the Mexico Pavilion, which is probably the nicest one. Like, one of the nicest ones, because when you go inside the Mexico Pavilion, it looks like...
It is all indoors as well.
It's all indoors, which is nice, and it looks like a nighttime in a Mexican, like, just market. There's a restaurant you can sit and eat at. This is where the amateurs of Drink Around the World start. You don't start in Mexico, because the margaritas will take you out. You start in Canada. You start in Canada like an adult.
Yes.
But, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they took... So there's a little boat ride in the Mexico Pavilion. It's called Three Caballeros, which is based off the Three Caballeros characters that include, like, Donald Duck and everything.
Donald Duck, Jose, and Pachito.
Yes. I wouldn't be surprised if they one day decide to turn that into a Coco ride. And I wouldn't be upset.
I would, but more just sad.
Because you like that ride.
I really do like that ride. I also think it's a bit of a fan favorite cult classic.
Yeah.
Especially this iteration of the ride. There was a lot of people who were really disappointed. They had to refurbish the Donald animatronic. And so he was not on stage for the last portion where he's supposed to be, and everyone cheered when he came back.
Oh, cute.
So, yeah. But I guess I wouldn't mind if it was Coco, but the other thing is that I don't want it to be like, because the ride, the Three Caballeros ride does take you around Mexico itself and shows you different areas of Mexico. So I don't want them to change it to, you're now going through the underworld, a fictional place. Rather than showing them the actual country itself. That is my issue.
I would think it would be, like, the main character, like, going through town or something.
Yeah, but even then, he's in a fictional town.
Yeah.
So, that's my two issues with the Coco thing. I'm not too upset with Coco, though. I wouldn't be too upset with Coco.
Moving right along to Hollywood Studios. We kind of already talked about what we like and dislike, but we'll start. So, I mean, I mentioned before, I like the Golden Age ambiance. I actually really liked when we ate at the Brown Derby last year. Because that felt very old school Hollywood to me, because it was based off the actual Brown Derby in Hollywood, California, which I don't think exists anymore.
No, I don't think it does.
I don't think it does, but it was like a great replica, and like you just felt like the history of it. I do love that old school Hollywood feel that they've managed to capture, at least in part of the park. And they've got like a replica of Grauman's Chinese Theater. You know, things which used to house Great Movie Ride.
Now it's Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway,
which is also kind of a cool attraction, but I think it's in a weird place. What I don't like is it does feel like a very confused park. It doesn't know what it is anymore. And we've kind of been saying, we're like, it should either try to compete and emulate California Adventure, or it needs to really lean into the immersion aspect. If you're trying to say, like, this is the park where you get to go into the movie, let's go all in on that. Because I think Star Wars does a pretty decent job, because when you go to that part of the park, you kind of forget about the rest of it. You can't see anything else from that park. It's like it doesn't exist. I think that's like a good way to go. Whereas other stuff, it just feels odd, and then the stuff that they're putting in is in weird places now. So we're about to get Monsters Inc., where Muppet Pavilion used to be. Which devastates me. Yeah. But I felt like all Pixar stuff maybe should be grouped together, and it's on the other side of the park from Toy Story area. It just feels weird, and then Aerosmith's Rock and Roller Coaster is going to get reskinned with Electric Mayhem, which is Muppets. Which is going to be in that old Hollywood downtown part. And it's confusing. I don't think it knows what it wants.
My biggest issue with Hollywood Studios is that it is my least favorite park by far, partially because of the confusion of it, and partially because they have basically taken everything I used to love about it. Because I've discussed this with my sister before, because we've gone to discussions about this, but they used to have a bookstore.
I miss the bookstore.
They used to have a bookstore.
I will say this, Disney World is missing a good bookstore. Disney has their own imprint. They could have a bookstore, and if you needed to theme it, make it Belle-themed, or put it in France and pretend it's Belle's bookstore. If you need to do that, do it, but we're missing a bookstore. They had a bookstore. It was quiet in there. You could get a lot of the animation art books. That was where I got some of my very first art books when I was getting into art. Some of my very first sketchbooks came from there. I was devastated when they had to close it. And then the other area that I really, really loved at the park was the animation pavilion, where they would actually show you how things are animated. There was little things where, like, we'll put you in the movie. It was, early 2000s tech, but they had actual animators there teaching you how to draw the characters. And you could watch actual animators work and do the hand-drawn animation work. And it was so wonderful. It was so wonderful. And they shuttered it. They just shuttered it, and now it's Star Wars Launch Bay, which is on the opposite side of the park from where all the Star Wars stuff is, and offices, and Disney Junior. Disney Junior is still over there, and the Little Mermaid theater is there as well, that's going to come back. Now, probably like my favorite parts of the park is One Man's Dream, which is basically a museum walkthrough of Walt Disney's history. Which seems to have gotten smaller. No, it's the same size. It's the same size. It's missing stuff. Okay. It's missing stuff. Some stuff might have gone back to his museum. And they have a little documentary at the end, voiced by Julie Andrews. They have a documentary, and it always rotates out with whatever current film they're putting out. A preview. It's usually it's a pretty long preview, Dad. And I got to see a preview of that new Nutcracker movie they did a few years ago. They showed a lot. A lot. I felt like I saw the first half hour. Yeah, but
I really like that. I like that area. If they touch one man's dream, I will literally stop going to Hollywood Studios because that is probably one of my. I would cry. You'd see me on the news. And then, I mean, I do have some rides that I like. I love me a Tower of Terror.
Oh my god, Tower of Terror.
I love Tower of Terror.
If they change that ever,
yeah,
I'm like, and I love Twilight Zone as like a concept. Like Twilight Zone, Tower of Terror, just don't touch it.
Yeah,
don't touch it. Even if you're telling me we're gonna get a Guardians ride, I don't want you to touch it.
We already have a Guardians ride.
We have a Guardians ride. It's in California. I'll go to California.
Yeah. Love Tower of Terror. I love the roller coaster that is Rock and Roller Coaster. I don't care for Aerosmith, so I'm excited for the Electric Mayhem.
Yeah, I'm excited for that reskin.
But I like that. Those are probably my big parts of the park that I like. But I just, a lot of the stuff that I get sad when I'm in the park, really. Because a lot of the stuff that I did like about it, because I'm not, you're more into like the live action acting, I'm more into the animation aspect of stuff. And the fact that they took a lot of that animation, or like even the set design with the Streets of America and stuff like that, all that artistic aspect of it feels completely stripped out.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me sad.
Yeah. That's why I'm like either go back, try to be like the California park and try to lean into the Hollywood stuff and then maybe do some other things, or lean into the immersion. I feel like those are your only two options at this point.
I personally would rather see them lean into the immersion and just kind of let sleeping dogs lie, because I don't think they're gonna pull back a Hollywood crowd. I think people are loyal to the IP now, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's it would be a shame to me if they undid like that Main Street area.
Yeah. Not necessarily undo it, but you know what I mean. But then now they're just adding, I liked the Muppets area. It unfortunately just got completely killed by Star Wars. Basically, because of the way that they had to reroute Star Wars and reroute traffic. I cried when I found out that Muppets Vision was going away. I actually never liked Great Movie Ride. I thought it was okay.
It was okay.
It was something that, to me, felt like it needed to be updated.
Oh, yes.
And then
animatronics-wise, yes.
And then I do like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. The issue I have with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, though, is the fact that a lot of like their facial movements and stuff, it's all projections. A lot of the set is projections.
It's not even projections, it's like screens.
I know, but that also makes me worried for preservation. And I don't think the ride's going away anytime soon. But it does make me worried for, like, in the future, if they do end up getting rid of the ride, how are they going to preserve a lot of that technology?
Yeah.
Some of it seems like cutting corners. Though it is a very, actually, when you get in there, it is a very technically impressive ride. It does make you feel like you're in a cartoon.
Yeah. Which, again, like, I think fits the theme of the park.
It does.
Go into a cartoon.
It's also his first ride. It's Mickey's first ride.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. It's a good ride. But, yeah, it's... Hollywood Studios is just... It's such a mess.
It's just a very confused park, and it just frustrates me because it could be great.
They just dump everything in there.
They just kind of dump stuff in there that they don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
We should probably move on to Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom, my baby. Animal Kingdom, I feel like, has the most consistent theming throughout the years.
True.
And I also think that is in part because it is the newest park. Because it was 1998 or 1999 it opened.
I think so, yeah.
And so it does make it the newest park. They basically have... It's basically all the countries they couldn't bother to put into Epcot, they put in Animal Kingdom.
They do, yeah.
Where basically they have an African section, they have an Asia section. And then they have other sections.
India, too.
That's in the Asian section.
Was it?
India's part of Asia.
I feel like there are 3 sections, though.
There's multiple sections, but the two major continental cultures they represent are African cultures and specifically like Swahili, Tanzania, around Kilimanjaro. And then for the Asian countries, it's Nepal and northern India, that area. Because that's around Expedition Everest, where you literally go up and you get to see a Yeti who doesn't move anymore.
Yeah. That is my favorite ride.
It is so good. Oh my god.
Good.
That's Expedition Everest. Yeah. And then they have like a lot of animals, and there's a lot of like nature trails that you can walk through, and you can see tigers and you can see gorillas, and then they have the train you can take up to the conservation area
Rafiki's Planet Watch.
Rafiki's Planet Watch, where you can get to see, like, a little bit behind the scenes and see a lot of the smaller animals, and they have a petting zoo, and then that's where they put the animation experience, for some reason, because that used to be in Hollywood Studios, but now it's just like, we're teaching you how to draw animals, and I'm like, guys, there's gotta be more, which I still go and do it every time, but, like, it just... I really like Animal Kingdom, and I like the fact that they kind of there is IP in there, and like they have Camp Mini Mickey, they've been very conservative with
Doug
that.
from Up,
yeah,
and Kevin and Russell, and like they get included.
That fits. Because they do have like a scavenger hunt type thing. Usually every park has like a scavenger hunt type thing. I think Magic Kingdom doesn't anymore because they got rid of sorcerers. But they have, like, a scavenger hunt thing where you can go and you can earn your Wilderness Explorer badges, and it's really fun for kids. They also have the dinosaur area, which had, like, a weird carnival.
Yeah, it was a weird, like,
that's
carnival
gone now.
Midway thing. That is gone now. And then the dinosaur ride also was a favorite ride of mine.
Oh my god,
I would just get up at 10 a.m., go do that first thing to feel something, and then we go on with the rest of the day. And that's going to become...
Dr. Seeker.
Mm-hmm. Yep, R.I.P. Dinosaur, because that is going to become Indiana Jones.
Though Dinosaur was technically the original.
The original to Walt Disney World, or original just in general?
Of the Indiana Jones-esque rides with the Jeeps.
I think, yes, it predated the one that's in Disneyland, because Indiana Jones in Disneyland has another Jeep ride where you...
It's very similar, the technology.
Yeah, so I think, which is why they're like, we're going to put Indiana Jones here. And if anything, I do think Indiana Jones, at least if we're going based off location alone, it fits.
Yes.
Because that's where all these locations we're talking about is where he spends most of his time. So that kind of works.
They're trying to put in what next is like a Mesoamerican...
They're doing like a South American thing.
Yeah. Where they're adding Encanto for some reason.
That doesn't feel right to me.
No, it doesn't.
Encanto to me feels like Epcot, and I don't know why. And granted, you would have had to get a Columbia Pavilion in order for it to work.
It's the cultural aspect of it's a Colombian thing, and it doesn't take place necessarily in a jungle. It takes place in a town. It takes place in a house.
Yeah.
It doesn't take place in nature itself, though nature is involved.
Yeah, it feels wrong. I know they're putting in a Zootopia something, like a Zootopia
They did.
land.
They put in a Zootopia, not necessarily land, but they already replaced Tough to Be a Bug.
With like a Zootopia thing, which I think is good, because Tough to Be a Bug, you either loved that or you were traumatized by it.
Yeah.
Which was the Bugs Life ride. That was the Bugs Life ride.
It was a simulator where you sat down and they would talk to you about bugs, and then the bugs would run over your feet.
Have you actually sat through that whole thing?
I have not.
It's not a simulator. There's like...
It's a ride.
Bits and pieces where there's like screens and it's 3D. But there's a hopper animatronic.
But it's not a ride.
Human size.
I know, but it's not a ride.
It's a show.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I know. And you get stung by bees.
Yes.
It was horrifying. It was awful. I'm so glad they got rid of it. I hated it. I never made it through.
They could have done something better with A Bug's Life.
Yeah, they really could have. Animal Kingdom, the things I like about it, I love Expedition Everest. I love that, like, that story is really cool. Like, the fact that, like, you're going up to find a Yeti. I love the Nemo musical, although they've cut it down since, and it's not what it was.
It's not. You're not seeing the full version of it, but it's still good. Go see it.
It's still good. We love Finding Nemo, the musical. And I like Dinosaur. I'll go on Indiana Jones when it opens. The things I don't like about it, it is... Again, it's sweltering. There's just not a lot of places.
There's not a lot of shade.
For shade.
Yeah, there's nothing indoors, really.
I find I tend to, like, tap out of that one quicker than any other park, just because there's just not places to find relief. Which is why we'll go do Rafiki's Planet Watch, just because that's an indoor center. So it gives us a little bit of time. It's also, you have to take a train to get there. So it's further away from the main park.
The train's breezy.
It's breezy, yeah. So that helps, and it's a little quieter if you need just a little time. You've also got Kilimanjaro Safari, which you forgot.
Oh yes,
that's like the main attraction there.
They have actual animals, unlike the Jungle Cruise. They have actual animals in Kilimanjaro Safari, and you can see like lions, you can see giraffes, you can see all sorts of different things. I've
heard like the best time to go is like sunset.
That's when all the animals are most active because they're all leaving to go back home.
Yeah.
They're all clocking out. But yeah, no, I really, really like Animal Kingdom. I'm worried for the new expansions where they're just because Kilimanjaro Safari, Expedition Everest, Kali River Rapids, a lot of these, like, Animal Kingdom rides are all, like, unique rides to Animal Kingdom. They are not IP-based. I mean, again, they have, like, Festival of the Lion King. They have the Finding Nemo musical. They have all that kind of stuff. But a lot of it is just, it's just them. Mm-hmm. It's just them. And then they also have, like, you know, a lot of, like, the animal trails and stuff like that. It's just a good park. Like, even, like, not even just a Disney park. It's just a good educational park. Mm-hmm. And I'm worried that if they add Zootopia, which is in a real place, and is just for bait, that you're gonna start diluting the message and the theming, specifically the message though of Animal Kingdom, where it's about animals. Though we do kind of get that with Pandora. Yeah. So
the Avatar Land.
Yeah. So the most popular area of the park is Avatar Land, Pandora, which has couple very cool rides.
I mean, it's got one
cool ride and a cool animatronic.
Yeah, basically. Because the Flights of Passage, I will agree, is some of the most impressive Disney technology I've seen in a hot minute.
For a simulator, especially.
However, I think I said to you, I was like, it's great technology, bad story.
Yeah.
Because I'm the only one who remembers any fucking details from Avatar, the first one. If anyone saw Avatar, the first one, this ride is what everyone refers to as the Banshee ride, because you ride on one of the flying banshees from Avatar. Well, if anyone watched the movie, they would know what you have to do to get on the back of one of these banshees. And you gotta be in your avatar, and you gotta connect with your little ponytail, and you have to, like, tame the thing to get on it. It is a rite of passage to fly on a banshee, and they do say that to you at the beginning of the ride. And the way they sort of skirt around this is they tell you when you go in during the pre-show that they are going to connect you with avatars that are already mounted on the back of the banshees. And I'm like, wait, so unconscious avatars are sitting on the back of these banshees and we're, like, pre-connected? That's a little weird and also inaccurate. And again, like, nobody cares. Because I've never met anybody who goes this hard for Avatar.
You don't even go this hard for Avatar.
I don't even go this hard. I just happen to retain this information for some reason. But again, like, the ride itself, very impressive. And also, if you're not going through, like, Fast Pass version of it, I think the queue is pretty cool.
The queue is awesome. Yeah.
Like, the queue is pretty cool. And they even have, like, a big Jake Sully avatar, like, full-sized in, like, water.
He's in a tube, and occasionally he shakes.
Like, he kicks. Yeah. But I was like, good tech, bad story. And then the other ride in that area is the
Navi River Journey. Which is basically, like, a relaxing boat ride through a bunch of foliage. You see some hunters and stuff like that, but it's, like, that's on a screen. And then at the very end, you see this, like, priestess.
And the animatronic is really impressive.
Yeah.
It is. I've never seen one with that range of movement until that point.
It was very lifelike, yeah.
Very lifelike. Other than that, not that interesting of a ride.
No, I don't really remember anything.
And then there's a gift shop, and occasionally there's a mech suit demonstration. Which is fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. Like, again, the Banshee thing is probably the most interesting thing about it. You gotta wait 3 hours.
And they do have, like, a story for the world where it's, like, they're trying to teach you about conservation on this specific planet. It just falls flat for me, because it's basically, like, the original movie, as far as I know, was, like, don't do a colonization. And then this was, like, we did a colonization, but it's fine.
Yeah, again, like, that's probably, like, Animal Kingdom's one major flaw, is that also Avatar, just as IP being attached to Disney, feels odd to me.
Yeah, they're getting another Avatar park, like, park section in, I think, in California, I believe. Which is going to be based on the area from Way of Water, which I have not seen Way of Water.
I did not see the second Avatar film.
Yeah.
They've been hyping that thing up since I was 12, so.
Yeah. But, so it's a lot of just, like, I don't know. Pandora feels like a tumor to me. It feels like a weird space. And the thing is, when Animal Kingdom was first conceived, they did conceive, like, a fantasy area for fantasy creatures. I don't think, and people are like, well, Pandora basically means that has come to pass. And I'm like, I don't think that's works. And again, it's the whole, like, people want immersion. And I feel like there's ways you can do immersion without having to stick to a specific IP. And that's what I worry about with their Encanto Land, where they're basically just going to make it Encanto Land, not necessarily make it Colombia or make it South America, but just Encanto. And that's the part that worries me, where I'm just like, this is a park where you have some impeccable theming, impeccable Central Asian theming, you have some great African theming, and then let's just put our just completely made up version of Colombia in there. And we're Colombian, so this also kind of hits a little bit of a sore spot for us. But I worry about, and the thing is, I understand about IP needing to make money. I just worry about it taking over what was originally a very, very good park.
This is kind of like I think this is the thesis statement where we were like, this is our issue with kind of Walt Disney World as it is right now. We're worrying that like the IP is overshadowing story. Like I was saying with the Avatar ride, I was like, great tech, awful story. Like I was like, either they watched the movie and didn't care, or they weren't creative enough to make it work. Again, with like Monsters, Inc. just being plopped where Muppets used to be, meanwhile...
Right in front of Star Wars.
Right in front of Star Wars. Granted, you can't tell it's Star Wars from the outside, but then Toy Story is like halfway across the park. I'm like, I feel like you're not thinking this through. Again, dropping cars right in the back of Frontierland where it's gonna be visible. I can't imagine unless they do something to make it so you can't see that.
And they've also had a very bad issue with making things easy to see.
What do you mean?
As in, like, Disney has when they were first building the parks, they had a plan for basically that you wouldn't see any of the park, like, actually, a lot of the attraction stuff was hidden. A lot of the technology was hidden. The buildings were hidden. They had go away green, so people wouldn't see this. And now, especially, like, if you go to see Guardians, you can see the entire ride area behind it from the parks. People who were building the parks originally would not have had that happen.
You mean you can see Guardians all the way from, like, a country?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You said they were making things harder to see. I was like, no, that was the point.
No, they're making them easier to see.
Oh, okay, yeah. And that was my other big issue with the Skyliner, because the way World Showcase works, especially in the Paris or in the France area, is because we've got an Eiffel Tower there that's done with forced perspective. It's not as big as the Eiffel Tower, obviously, but the way that they align it with the buildings makes it look like it's just there, just behind, but far away.
Yeah.
Well, with the Skyliner, the proportions look off now. It just looks strange on the skyline because now you see a Skyliner that's probably as close as the thing you're trying to make look far away.
Yeah.
And now you can tell that it's just fake and it's right there.
Yeah. That is definitely an issue. And I mean, it does bleed over into, like, even the hotels, because there was a hotel that they just put up recently that you can see from the boardwalk area, which is supposed to be very, like, 1910s, and then this hotel is bright and modern. And it breaks the skyline for that. And so I worry that basically they're getting sloppy. They're getting sloppy. And the thing is, you can do these immersive worlds, like these various immersive worlds, without having to make everything visible from each other, and without having to make it all at night necessarily an IP park, because they've done it with Tokyo Disney Sea. And again, Tokyo Disney Sea was not owned by Disney. It is licensed by Disney, but it's not owned by Disney. But the whole premise of Disney Sea, and they have very good storytelling for this, where basically you're an adventurer on this ship, going to all these different ports of call. And there's an Arabian area. There is a Little Mermaid area, like an under the sea area. There's a mysterious island where you can, like, see, like, the Nautilus. They have Fantasy Springs where you can, like, see Frozen, but you can also see Peter Pan. It's all this different stuff. But they have storytelling there. And Magic Kingdom used to also have storytelling. And the thing about having generic themed lands over IP lands is that they're also future-proof. Because let's say there's, like, a dozen Frozen rides and a dozen Frozen attractions in all the parks. Which I was bitching about earlier.
Yeah, you were like, when you were putting together the spreadsheet of all the different rides, you were like, there are so many. Just a stupid amount of Frozen rides.
There's a stupid amount of Frozen rides. And I love Frozen. Like, I love Anna and Elsa. I love my girls. They need to let it go. And so like, let's say, like, everyone wakes up tomorrow and all of a sudden no one likes Frozen anymore. Not necessarily, like, hates it, but, like, no one cares about Frozen anymore. And all of a sudden, these rides drop down to 0. If you have a generic fantasy area, you could just slot another generic fantasy into that. You could slot Rapunzel into there. You could slot Ariel into there. You could slot anyone else in there. If it's Arendelle, you can't slot anyone in there. It has to be Anna and Elsa. And that's another issue I have with these specifically trying to be, like, immersive into the IP parks is, do you know if this IP is going to last?
Yeah. And again, like, well, something like Splash Mountain Song of the South, that was perfectly fine when they opened it.
Yeah.
Nobody saw any problems there. And now, again, I think Tiana was a great choice. I think it makes a little more sense in Disneyland than it does in Disney World, because Disneyland has Port Orleans. Not Port Orleans, that's a hotel. They have New Orleans Square, which is right next to kind of the Adventureland area, so it kind of works. Whereas we don't really have that, but I'm okay with it. I'll accept it. Even though it's still Frontierland.
Yeah.
But I think also from the outside, it doesn't look so distinctly Princess and the Frog.
I feel like it fits that transition area from Adventureland into Frontierland.
Yeah, so I think it can work. But that's what I'm saying. There just needs to be a little bit more forethought. The fact that, like, Villains Land is going to expand out behind the already Fantasyland expansion makes sense.
That makes sense.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yeah, we've got, kind of have all these princess areas, because Belle has an area, Ariel has one, Snow White kind of has one, Cinderella obviously has one, because it's her castle. You know, all these different things. Rapunzel gets a bathroom. We love her so much.
Not only does she get a bathroom, you can spot the Pascals while you're waiting for your friends in the bathroom.
We love her so much. Yeah, so I do think, like, yeah, Villains Land, I think, is probably going to be the biggest slam dunk for them out of the new things that they are planning.
Everything else has been met with very lukewarm reactions.
Yeah, people were not crazy about Muppets going away for Monsters, Inc.
People were not crazy about Cars.
People weren't crazy about Cars. They thought that was a weird choice.
And Kanto either.
Yeah, and I just wanted to be clear, these are not just our opinions. There are a lot of people who are fans of the parks who were kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
This might be weird. There's also something to just be said from, like, just a logistics point of view. It's super annoying going to Disney World when they're in the middle of giant construction projects.
My God, yes. Especially when they were doing all the refurbishment of Epcot.
That was hard. The walls that were basically up the main part of the...
You couldn't see where you were going.
It was just kind of a mess. And they used to be, again, a bit more discreet about them.
No, they just don't care.
No, they just don't care. It's just... And it was a little annoying because even, like, during COVID, they were talking about all these different, like, improvements and stuff like that. And granted, like, in the beginning of COVID, we didn't know how to complete these things while being safe.
Yeah.
Well, once we did, there were certain times where I was like, this is the perfect time to do it. No one's there.
No one's here.
Nobody's here. You can be as messy as you like.
I think they could have gotten, like, a good part of the Epcot stuff that they had canceled done during COVID.
Because you didn't have guests.
You didn't have guests around. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because even, like, when you would ride People Mover during the time they were building Tron, you could see all that.
Yeah.
You could see all that.
It was just there.
It was just there. It was just, yeah. It was, I just think there's been a lack of care in the most recent years, which I think is why fans find it frustrating.
Specifically with Walt Disney World.
With Walt Disney World, again, and we haven't been to Disneyland since 2019, and you haven't been to Tokyo since
2019 as well.
2019 as well. So again, we don't know. Maybe other places have declined. I'd be curious to hear, like, if there are other people who listen to this who, like, are more familiar with the other parks. I would love to hear your thoughts. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is we've kind of sort of seen a decline, and that also could just be growing up. But I do think there is an aspect of, like, cutting corners, trying to do things as cheaply as possible. The effort has kind of, like, fallen off the priority list, and that's made the experience a little less pleasurable.
Especially, like, when you go into... I can think of, like, one specific example of just, like, them stopping how much they care. And that's specifically, they're in that Fantasyland expansion. They have the Gaston's Tavern, and then right next door there's a little store.
Mm-hmm.
And that used to be the Beauty and the Beast store.
Yeah.
And it was, like, art and stuff related to Beauty and the Beast, and there was notebooks and all this kind of stuff. Now it is, like, generic princess...
And they also...
costumes or whatever.
When I was in there last... Because for a while there, I was like, okay, generic princess. I guess I can see that because, let me tell you, there's not Beauty and the Beast merch all the time.
Yeah.
There's not. There's not always stuff. Because I check regularly.
Yeah. And that area had just come out after the live action, I think, came out. Or just around there.
Well, the area was made in 2013, and then the live action came out in 2017.
Yeah.
And then obviously anniversaries, things like that. I get generic princess, but I went in there recently when we were there in October, and there's just less in there to begin with now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that we're trying to create space and need to make it navigatable because people push strollers, and there's just, you just got to make things wide enough. And it just, but then I just went in there and it just started to feel like there's nothing here. Like, it's a store, but there's, like, barely anything on... There's... And I've been seeing this... This is, like, a retail thing in general. This isn't even necessarily a Disney thing, but they've been doing this sort of scarcity thing where they're cutting down what is physically there. And I don't know what psychologically that's supposed to do.
I wonder if it's meant to make you think it's going to be sold out soon. So
I think
get it.
so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's what it's meant to be. But it also, like... To me, scarcity floor sets... scream like luxury, and I'm like, I don't, even though Disney is a very expensive thing to go do, when I go into a Disney gift shop, I don't think luxury, so it feels weird to me that they're trying to make this weird stark feeling.
For me, it's not even necessarily luxury. It makes me feel like you don't want me to touch anything.
Yeah, it doesn't feel welcoming.
No, it doesn't.
Which, again, like going into the gift shops on Main Street, it's a similar thing.
Yeah.
They do that stark white... It's like a museum. You don't want to touch anything.
Yeah.
Like, it feels a little... It's like when we go into the crystal shop, which, by the way, is much more warm than some of the other gift shops, and you're just terrified.
Nice dark wood.
Nice dark wood, but you're still terrified you're going to break something.
Yeah. And I go there with a backpack. Like, it's dangerous.
I'm, like, clutching my shoulder bag to my body, so I'm like, I'm not going to hit anything.
But, yeah, it's just... And again, I feel like I'd be more fine with a lot of the changes in the corners they're cutting if ticket sales weren't going up. If ticket prices weren't going up. And they're just constantly cutting corners, and making everything more fucking expensive. It's like, what are you even spending it on? I know what you're spending on, CEO salaries, but like...
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that things have, I think, leveled out a bit recently because of the complaints about it.
Yeah.
Also, Universal, I think, is starting to blow them out of the water.
They're scared. They're a little scared.
I think they're a little scared. I think that's the thing. I think other parks are showing more devotion and, like, intention with what they're doing. Like, Universal, like, obviously Mario, slam dunk.
Oh my god. Universal has two extremely profitable, like, immersive IPs.
Oh, yeah. How to Train Your Dragon.
Harry Potter,
obviously.
Nintendo. Dark Universe was like a left field, but it works.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, Universal Monsters, let's go. Because horror fans?
Yeah, no,
crazy.
Horror fans,
and when I saw, like, and listen, like, I saw those, when I saw the sneak preview of those animatronics for that ride, I was like, hell yeah, get me there. And we were hardcore Disney people. We were not Universal people.
Yeah, no.
We've been, like, maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
But now, I'm like...
Oh, I want to go.
That looks like the coolest thing ever. Not Harry Potter. We did do Harry Potter. But before it was awful.
Yeah.
But now, I'm like, yeah, get me there. That looks incredible.
I need to do that Mario Kart ride. I need to. Like, it's just... That's not a want, that is a need.
Yeah, I think other parks are kind of doing it better now. I need Disney to get a little scared.
Yeah. They've had it too good for too long.
Yeah, they were top of the food chain for far too long. And now they are opening a new park in Abu Dhabi. That was announced this week.
Yeah, United Arab Emirates. Yep. So, yeah.
We'll see. Like, I don't know. Like, there's going to be another one to...
That's also going to be hot, but not Florida hot. That's dry heat.
That's dry heat, yeah. I'm curious, is that one going to be Disney owned?
that one is partially Disney owned, partially owned by another company. I think it's the Mural Company. That's probably
So do you think they're going to probably have the same advantages?
They're going to have the same... I think they might have the same advantages as Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Shanghai.
So they're going to get better stuff.
They're going to get better stuff. And the thing is I also think what's holding us back in Florida and maybe in California, and again, we don't know California too well, we're the older parks.
We are.
We're the oldest parks. And it's a lot easier building from scratch than it is to breathe life into something else. Which you see when you look at Shanghai, you see when you look at Tokyo Disney Sea. Now you're going to see it with Abu Dhabi. It's
just easier to, like, come at it new.
Yeah.
Because, and again, like, I think California in particular, I think, has had a little bit of success breathing life into new things. Like, reskinning Tower of Terror into a Guardians ride.
That was fun.
Without changing the tech at all. So fun, so original, and it worked. It felt like a good story. It felt correct. Also, because I think with comic books, you can get a little...
You get a little crazy.
You can get a little weird. I think Avengers Campus... definitely helped breathe some new life into it, because also Adventures Campus is constantly updating with the IP. I think that's the one instance where actually they're doing IP pretty well because they keep up with what is trending at the time. Because Avengers Campus, the whole idea is there's rides, but the walk-around characters get updated constantly.
I've seen so many videos of the fucking Deadpool story time.
Deadpool story time, incredible. Deadpool participating in the Guardians dance-off. Love that. But most recently, for Thunderbolts, Red Guardian is now a walk-around character.
Oh, that's nice.
Interestingly, nobody else.
Yeah.
But Red Guardian is the one.
He's goofy.
He's goofy. So they did that. But, like, during Loki, like, you would see Loki walking around in his time, oh gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the...
Time Authority?
The Time Authority, like, jumpsuit. During Multiverse of Madness, Wanda was walking around being all evil. Again, WandaVision, she would be there kind of, like, regularly. Obviously, when we went the week Captain Marvel opened, so this is pre-Avengers Campus, but it was Captain Marvel everything. Yeah. Like, it was huge. But, like, I like the fact that it does breathe new life into it, and like Cap's there, and all this. You still get your classic people, but you get the new stuff too.
I feel the same way about Pixar Pier, because like that used to be like just kind of like a generic pier area, and now they're like, well, we can add like Turning Red, we can add Toy Story, we can add all this kind of stuff, and I'm just like, no, it works because like when you think of Pixar movie, you just think fun.
Yeah,
and what's up here? Fun. Like, it works. It's and you can easily add just new IP in there as Pixar comes out with new movies.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of just other aspects. I just think it's short-sighted.
Yeah. Things just haven't been... I'm very curious to see, like, Cars Land. Monsters, Inc. as an IP...
We've been asking for, like, a Monsters, Inc. roller coaster for fucking years.
Like, let me tell you, like, the thing they're gonna put in, which is the... roller coaster based off the doors.
Yeah.
We, like, ever since seeing that movie the first time, everyone's like, oh my god, I want a roller coaster that's, like, riding on the doors.
Yeah.
So, like, I can see, look, it's a no-brainer. I'm not gonna lie. But also, it's in a weird place.
It's in a weird place, and also sometimes it feels like too much too late. Or too little too late.
Yeah. And I mean, like, Monsters University came out in 2013.
One of my favorite movies, actually.
It's a great movie. And then their most recent kind of, like, addition to the IP is Monsters at Work, which is actually a really cute series. I like Monsters at Work a lot. And Mike and Sully are not, like, the main characters of it. They come and they go. But the main characters are also really endearing. I think you can create a wider world with the Monsters, Inc. stuff.
Here's my thing, though. Like, piggybacking off of that. I wonder if they're making a lot of these IP decisions in the parks... and then just trying to shove IP in afterwards. As in, like, they put out Tron, and now they're like, we need to get people interested in Tron again, so we're going to put out a new Tron movie.
Monsters at Work predated this
I know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because, like, people talk about Disney Channel where they were posting fish facts, and then they announced Finding Nemo.
I'm sure there's part of that. I would actually love to see Disney Channel more prominent in the parks. Mostly because Disney Channel, anything that's airing on the actual cable channel right now is animated.
Yeah, but no one watches it.
They do on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, Big City Greens just had their 100th episode. And as we know, like, a 100th episode...
That's a big deal.
For a Disney animated? Crazy.
Yeah.
Also, I like them. They're cute.
I'm
I'm 27 years old. I love Big City Greens.
Well, now I'm thinking about, like, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
Very good.
That's also very popular, actually.
It's Marvel, but it's not an Avenger.
Yeah.
You could do stuff with that.
Yeah.
Kif. Love Kif.
Kif. I just think the issue with a lot of Disney Channel IP is that I don't know how many kids actually care. Because I don't see it in toy stores.
Oh, that's kind of how you base it?
If it's not in toy stores, like, that kids aren't asking for it. They may be watching it, but they're not asking for it. People ask for Bluey, though. You put Bluey in the parks.
Yeah, you know what?
Put Bluey in the parks.
You know what? I know how to save Disney World. Put Bluey in the parks.
This is Bluey Land now.
Bluey Land. Actually, just open a Disney park. Australia. Bluey Park.
Yeah.
Done.
Do it in the middle of the desert. It's going to be fine. It'll be fine. Problem.
Actually, you know what? I just went on the Disney website because I was actually going to check for Disney Channel merch. Doctor Who is technically Disney property now.
I mean, he's already in the UK, though.
Pop a little TARDIS anywhere. I'd be so happy. Actually, the week that Doctor Who premiered, they actually popped a TARDIS in Downtown Disney.
That's nice.
For the week. And I was like, ugh. And we weren't going to be there.
Oh,
it was the week before we went. I was so mad. I was like, what? You can finally see a TARDIS? So basically where we've landed is, I don't think Walt Disney World is the worst park.
No, it has issues.
It's just had a decline.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we can't fix it. But I think we've learned capitalism's to blame.
Capitalism is always to blame. It's either money or ease. Those are the two things that are always to blame.
That's why
Evelyn Dover was right.
Yes. So this was, like, an interesting exercise, I think, especially because, like, we came in with a very specific argument, and then through our research we realized we were kind of wrong.
Yeah.
And we also recognized that, like, 90% of the issue is A, capitalism, and B, the fact that we're completely Disney-owned parks. And
they have no... They can just do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, so I think the vision is getting lost. I think that's the big thing. And again, we're probably going to be going back in the next month or so.
We're part of the problem.
We are part of the problem. Don't put us in a room alone with Bob Iger.
No.
Actually, either we come to an agreement or we don't.
Either we come to an agreement or we don't.
Yeah, so I think this was just like our first Disney episode, because obviously you and I have pretty equal knowledge and footing when it comes to Disney. We've got definitely more Disney episodes coming up, not just the parks, but just like the company in general and just Disney.
Yeah.
We do think Disney has two distinct aspects to it. There's Disney, the company, and Disney, the ideology.
But we'll get into that more another time.
Down the line.
Yeah.
Another fun thing to look forward to coming up. So, in a couple of weeks, you guys are going to get a little bonus episode, because we will be doing our normal full-length twice a month episodes for June. We are also going to throw in a little half-hour bonus episode for Summerween. We had wanted to do a Summerween special since we started the podcast. That was, like, on the list, so we've kind of decided... We started building the document for it, and we realized it couldn't really fill a full episode, and if we wanted it in time... we would have to kind of speed it up. So, that episode will be coming out, according to our calendar, Friday the 13th.
Yeah!
Of June.
Very spooky.
So, keep an eye out for our Summerween special on Friday the 13th. Little extra episode for the month of June. But yeah, we will see you guys soon. If you want to see more of us, we are on Instagram at KillYourNormiePod. Also, check us out YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
Wherever you find your podcasts.
We are everywhere. We will find you.
In the bathroom of any Barnes & Noble.
Yep, exactly. Come find us. We're in the last stall on the left.
All right. Stay cool, guys.